All right. Evening, everybody. We are about to kick off match day 6 in the Champions League. I think it's a pretty tasty slate of games. We're just going to start with Tuesday. 4 games, 5 wagers. Break these down and try to get some more to you come Wednesday for those matches. But until then, let's go back to my favorite angle in European football, and that is this Liverpool team with the teased under. I think this is a good spot for this particular bet for a couple of reasons. This angle's been great throughout Liverpool's stint in the Champions League this year. They are 5-0, sitting number 1 in the competition. All 5 of those games have gone under 4.5 goals, and we've been betting the hell out of it. There was one occasion where we took Liverpool in the under 3.5 at plus money. They ended up winning 3-1. Got a little greedy there, but we got a really good price on this under 4.5 with Liverpool money line at a minus 110. I think this is a particularly good spot for a couple of reasons. This Girona team, I kind of regressed from last season. I like their coach, Mikel, quite a lot, but they don't quite have the talent that they once did, and they have really struggled in this competition. Just 1 win from 5 games. They are sitting 30th out of 32. They've got a tough slate of games ahead of them. I think their stint in this league is more or less over, but a couple of reasons to really like Liverpool here. Number one, Saturday morning, they had a derby scheduled against their crosstown rivals, Everton. That game was canceled due to some inclement weather. So they've got a few extra days rest on Girona. But another reason that I really like this, Liverpool's got a lot of matches throughout the remainder of this month. So you might worry that they would rotate, especially if they had to play that tough derby match. Luckily, they didn't. And Arne Slot has come out and he said he's not rotating at all this match. I think they have the depth if they need to rotate a bit, or he decides he wants to, they're going to be just fine. But one of the reasons that I really, really like this under here, Liverpool is coming off a match that they drew even with Newcastle at 3-3. That's the first time that Liverpool has conceded 3 goals all season. So I think they're going to come out here more than ever, really looking to put a stamp on this game, control the game. Girona's really slow in the buildup. Their pace is slow. So I think every time they try to hold on to the ball for a long time, Liverpool will take it when they're on their way into that final third. I don't think Girona's going to get more than a couple chances in this one, and I think that Liverpool has got this, probably 2-0 if I had to guess. I rather like the minus 1.25 goals on the Liverpool side if you wanted to mess around with the spread. But, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Liverpool under 4.5 at minus 110. That's how I'm playing it for now. All right. Let's move on to this next game. All right, so this is the last of the early games for Tuesday the 10th here. We've got Celtic traveling to Zagreb. Now, these are 2 teams that are kind of right on the cusp of qualifying for this next round here, sitting in those low 20s. Got to finish above 24 to get through in this competition. This smells like an overgame to me. I have a feeling it could start out slow. Neither team's going to want to concede first. A loss here could end up being devastating, but these have been some over teams. Zagreb's gone over this 2 3/4 line in 4 of their 5 games throughout this competition. Celtic in 3 of their 5. In the case of Celtic, because this is the team that I know, I suppose, a bit more about, that I've watched an awful lot more. They could have very well gone over in all 5 of theirs. Played to a 1-1 with Club Brugge, who we will talk about here in a few minutes, but they also played to a 0-0 with Atalanta. Atalanta's a team, great form. I've had a lot of success backing them lately. Very weird game, though. You look at the expected goals, and they were well over 3. It's kind of an odd 0-0. I lean towards Celtic here. I was even tempted on Celtic minus 1/4 goal. Comes in around minus 115. It's also tempted on their team total over 1.5. That comes in around even money. Still tempted on that team total over 1.5. This Celtic side, man, they have some great attack. These Japanese internationals that they have up front, just tons of talent. And you give them a look at goal, they will take it to the bank. So, all that said, Celtics a team I do not trust their back line at all. That's kind of what got me off that minus 1/4 goal. I could see this being a 2-2. I could see it being a 2-1. I do favor Celtic, but Zagreb's got some goals in them as well. They've been scoring 2 more often than not in this competition, even in a game where they got absolutely destroyed by Bayern earlier in the year. They still managed 2 in that one. I think both teams get on the board. Likely Celtic can get 2 or 3, but So kind of don't overcomplicate it spot. Once one of these goals come and these sides open up, I think we get over that 2 3/4 number. So keep it simple. Stick with the over on the Asian line. And let's move on to the later slate here. Tell you what, I do favor the home side here at the dog price. Club Brugge, solid organization from this side, especially when they're at home. Impressive win earlier in the year over Aston Villa. I took a lot from that game. But, one reason I really feel like I have to be with them here is the state of Sporting Lisbon. This team looked amazing for a time, just absolutely fantastic. They ran Manchester City out of the building. That was just a couple weeks ago. But since then, they've had their coach Amorim leave for Manchester United. And some of his staff is still there. They looked pretty decent with him away for a game or two, but they've really fallen off since. Their form has just collapsed. I mean, they're losing to teams that Club Brugge would absolutely destroy. And, it's not like Sporting. Domestically, they've been extremely strong this year. So they're not a team that I trust at all. Brugge, as I said, just really well organized, especially defensively. I think this could probably be a lower scoring game, which I think also favors Brugge. Lisbon likes to get in these sorts of shootouts and whatnot. And when I was talking about how the form with regards to Sporting has really fallen off, Brugge has been the complete opposite. 10 games without a loss. Last time they lost was way back in, it was in this competition actually, to AC Milan. That was back in October. Their form at home, even better. They haven't lost at home since September. So this team's really on a roll. They come in healthy. They're not going to let Sporting get any easy looks at net. And this Sporting team, the way they like to get forward and what have you as they do, I think Brugge can get behind that defense, even if they give Sporting a little bit of the ball at times. So I'm going to play it a little bit safer. Both of these teams are doing pretty well on the table, so they can afford a draw. That's why I like Club Brugge plus the quarter of a goal. If we do end up in a draw, we still come away with a half a win there. But I think that Club Brugge can steal this one. I think they come away with all 3 points in the victory. So got to be with the home side here. It's an exciting stadium. They'll be pumped for this match, and like the Brugge side. So let's move on to this final game, and it's a big one here. All right, so this is a game. I'm really interested to see how this one shakes out here. These are two teams you kind of have to love. Inter Milan, just a giant of Europe. They're a team I wish I would have considered taking a future on earlier in the year. They're just very, very difficult to beat. I think they're going to have we give teams a lot of problems later in this competition when we get to the knockout stages. As it sits, Inter Milan in second place. Leverkusen not so far behind them in sixth place. So they're both sitting in a really good spot here. Leverkusen on the other side, I mean, this is a team that I absolutely championed last year. Insanely profitable. They came out of nowhere. They looked like one of the best teams in Europe. Love their coach, Xabi Alonso, one of the best attacking minds in the game. Has this team playing way far forward, and they've got a ton of goals in them, generally speaking. But the thing about Leverkusen, Xabi will set them up a bit differently, have them play a slightly different style when they're in these big matches, even in their domestic games when they play the likes of Bayern Munich and whatnot. They're almost always lower scoring games. They played, speaking of Bayern, Bayern and Leverkusen squared off just last week. It ended up being a 1-0 game. Played earlier in the year to a 1-1. And that's kind of how these games go when Xabi's got a big side that he's playing against. He doesn't want to find himself behind. But what I see happening here is Leverkusen at home. They're going to have a ton of the ball. But this Italian side, very, very, very well organized at the back. They mark extremely well. They're not going to let anybody in behind them. And they're very good at covering those little ticky-tacky passes that Leverkusen likes to play. I really like a first half draw on this one. It's not where I'm going to go, at least not for now. It could be a triple down. But in this case, I've got two plays that I really like. And, one of them I already mentioned. That under 2.75 goals. I talked about how well Inter has been organized throughout this competition. Well, really throughout the year, but especially throughout this competition. 5 games, they have not allowed a single goal. And they've played some rather formidable sides throughout some of that time. They played Arsenal, won a lot of 1-0 games. I'd rather prefer Inter here. I think I see a 0-0 first half, and Inter, when the time is right, I think they can get one over the top. They can hit Leverkusen on the break when they get all those bodies forward. Leverkusen's 3 in their back line. They're just not to be trusted. They like to play more attack than defense, and that's always a bad recipe from a trio of defenders. And, in the meantime, this Leverkusen side, they're a little banged up. They run a lot through that 9. I talked about those ticky-tacky passes. They like to find their way into the danger area and then have their 9 put it away. Well, Victor Boniface is out indefinitely. And then Patrick Schick, there's rumors he could be back tomorrow. I rather doubt it. I think even if he is good enough to play, they'll keep him on the bench and try to bring him in late. So I really, really like this under here. But once more, I want to be with the underdog plus a quarter of a goal. I could see this one ending 0-0 or 1-1. In that case, we'll still walk away with a half a winner on the spread there. I think Inter Milan takes it. I think it's 1-0 if you want to get real tricky with a correct score. But I'll be looking towards that first half draw, maybe even a first half 0-0. I think this is a really tight game. I don't think Leverkusen's going to want to find themselves behind either. So while they're going to have a lot of the ball, they're going to be safe with it. They're not going to be forcing things in where they're giving the ball away in a bad situation where they're getting hit on the break. So thank you all for watching. It's been a good year. We're coming off a poor week. On the whole, through the year, we are 87 wins, 81 losses, plus a little over 5 units. So we'll look to get back over that 10-unit number as we were a week ago before some rough ones in the EPL. But really appreciate everybody's support. Best of luck to everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.